I'm back to do a deep dive into this magnificent composition. And let me tell you, the stuff that I found out and made connections with, in my opinion, were insane. Now, a lot of you are coming to this video already knowing the backstory, the lyrics, the content, the idea behind this song. But I'm hoping all of you will learn something new today on how really musically things add up even more than we suspected. So let's just take a look. We're going to wing this because there are a few things I really want to talk about. But before we go on, the biggest thing here is the use of the violin and the relationship between the two. That is Linda's part and Pete's part. I hope I said that right this time. It is important to know that the violin, it's kind of been this thing, right, that's won Eurovision a few times. And the violin's not that's won Eurovision, but it's this running joke. We had 1995, we had 2009, both for Norway. But then we had this monstrosity. I mean, this was before Alexander Rybak. A year before. What's going on here? Enough about my grievances with this song. But we can see that in Finland's this year, there is a move towards using the violin differently. And that is, it is now a duet. It is a fully fledged second, not even a second performer. It is, they are equals in this respect. So what makes this so magnificent? We know that this song is about a guy who is so in over his head with this kind of intoxicated love with a woman who is hot and cold, like a flamethrower at any point can burn him. We see that eventually this guy is driven mad. He's driven completely mad. And so let's look at how this is reflected. Obviously in the lyrics, I think we can see that when we look at the translation, but how the violin part reinforces this and how some of the aspects of the melody do as well, because this is quite magnificent. Go away, dimmer. Okay, that's better. Before he even opens his mouth, everything is strings here. Everything is strings, and this is no accident. And we'll talk about that very soon. He opens up, of course, with what we know to be the chorus, which I believe the lyric is something like, I should know better. I should be leaving, but I'm not. How can I freeze... What was it? How can I freeze my emotions when you're a flamethrower? So take a listen to this first line, and then we see Linda being introduced really early on. Listen to that beautiful imitation of the melody, right? This is him going, I should know better and leave. And what does she do? Straight up, she's just like introduce it. It's a repetition of that melody, which he just sang up an octave in the violin, of course. But what is this repetition? This kind of call and response, but even imitation. I should leave. And she's like, yep, you should leave. I dare you. Like it's playful and it's devilish. Now listen to this. So here we have a traditional call and response. Is him saying, how can I freeze my emotions? Is that the lyric? Let me just double check. So the first bit is I would be wiser if I just leave, right? And then she's going, yeah, it would. I dare you. And now he goes, how can I freeze my feelings? Because obviously his feelings are taking over him. But what do we get back from Linda's part in here is not an imitation, but a traditional call and response, which is a descending, in this case, violin melody, which is kind of descending into seduction, right? So our first introduction straight up is a relationship which is being established between the vocalist and the violinist here, or the vocal melody and the violin melody, through call and response, through imitation, through devilish playfulness, which is ending up being toxic as we find out going in. What have we got? You are? The first time I heard that Lian Kin Haiten at the bottom, I don't know if I'd even said that right. I did not describe that as being a non-Finnish speaker, as it saying the name of the song whatsoever at all. I heard that as a very disturbing, uncomfortable, creative, but uncomfortable noise in the lower register, which was distorted, right? And here's the thing. Obviously, many people are not going to be watching this understanding Finnish. If you understand the lyric, great. But not even understanding it, the use and the smartness of using that word in the way that they used it in a lower register distorted sound effect, which almost even sounds, in my opinion, like a low distorted string sound. So bringing back this theme of the strings is unsettling. And doing so is very smart to get those non-Finnish speakers to feel what we are going to feel without even knowing the meaning of the lyrics. We go into the first verse. The first verse, I feel like he's starting off somewhat sane, right? He's kind of like describing this atmosphere of he's going out, there's the smoke, probably because it's a nightclub or whatever, and he sees her in the distance, and he's kind of thinking of these feelings that he had when he saw her the night before. They were passionate. She was all over him, and it was an incredible feeling, yet now she is cold. Yet now she is playing him. She's pretending she doesn't even know him. This, in my opinion, let's take a listen to this first verse, because here is where some amazing camera work happens to reveal some of the relationship between these two. First, I want you to think about, where is the violin in this? Because he's recounting a story. He's telling us how he feels, and slowly descending into almost how we call it, not madness. Madness is a bad word, but obsession. He's recounting a story, but then it starts becoming more and more about her and how he's not interacting with her. You won't look me in the eye. Last night you couldn't keep your hands off me. You treat me badly, but it feels good. He's slowly losing it even within this verse. Yet we've gotten this, dimmer. I'm going to close this. What's the relationship here? Would one argue that Linda isn't even playing in this part? Take a listen.
Etin ihmisjoukost suu. Puhut muille, sun tuttuille. Oot ku et ees tuntis muu. Vähän outoa, et sä kato mua silmiin. Kun viime yönä et saanut must käsiä irti. Vaik saan sulta runtuu, niin se hyvältä tuntuu. Ois viisaampi häipyt.
Here we go. And this is where we're all wrong if you said that she's not playing in this part. We are led to believe that Linda, on her part, is really not a part of this. However, we're only led to believe that through what we're seeing here visually. Let's take a look. Look at her there in the background. We can see her through that window, and the camera pans up, going, she is there. She is in the distance, and she is affecting his capacity to think properly. That's one little small thing. But now we have him singing a melody, and we don't see Linda playing. But let's listen what's underneath. We have these pizzicato strings playing dup, 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 dup. And we use pizzicato to pluck, often to do something kind of in the background, something which is a little bit more sinister and creeping. Listen to this pizzicato. So this is a reminder. Let's look at the lyric. This is a reminder that he's recounting this story. That same night, smoke in the air, I'm looking at you for you in the crowd. You're talking to others, to your friends. You're pretending like you don't even know me. We think he's recounting this story about her and he can see her. But what do we hear in the background? something like that, in the pizzicato strings. This is a reminder that she's there. She's there in his head. However, and this is why it's so smart, kind of strange that you won't look me in the eye when last night you couldn't keep your hands off me. You treat me badly. It feels so good. What do we have now? We have him descending into obsession, into something which is more toxic. How does the role of the violin change? Listen. Perfect. We now have these arco sustained. Arco means bowed. It's now not pizzicato. It's a little bit more, it's rising. And he, with his mental state declining at this point. And this is a reminder that she is there. But let's look at what the camera does right at the end of this verse. Where does it go to focus? Not him. We see that she's been playing the whole time. And it truly epitomizes the meaning of this song. He is him, she is her, and he is being played like a fiddle. Literally. Because the violin does not represent her. She's being represented by Linda. He's being represented by Pete. The violin doesn't represent her. The violin represents the means in which she is manipulating his feelings and his emotions. And that becomes clear as to why they're using the violin here, that it is obviously Linda is an accomplished concert violinist. But they haven't chosen a saxophone. They haven't chosen a flute. A flute would have been terrible in this instance. They haven't chosen a cello. Cellos are beautiful. My favorite string instrument. Has a gorgeous, gorgeous range. Why is a cello not being used? Because the saying is not he played her like a cello or she played him like a cello. The saying is you got played like a fiddle, aka a violin. Fiddles and violins are the same thing. It's contextual in terms of the style of music. What insane use of camera work to try to manipulate us into thinking that this verse he was alone, but he wasn't. Let's see the chorus. Accenting on those double stops. Boom. Beautiful. We now have the violin taking a more aggressive accompaniment style, highly syncopated through unpredictable accents, which means that there is a lack of predictability in how she is going to be acting and how it's going to affect him. Which is the first time we hear him really say the title of the song. It would be wiser to get away from here, but I'm still playing with fire. How could I freeze the feelings when you're a flamethrower? He's got this cognitive dissonance, right? He knows that he shouldn't be there, but he's unable to get out. It's like a drug, right? It's the first time we hear him say this translation, Liakin Heitin, a flamethrower, in his voice. And as soon as he says, when you're a flamethrower, what do we have? We move away in the violin from this accompaniment syncopated role to a more independent counter melody, which is I am unleashing on you. Take a listen. Beautiful. I'm going to say this straight up. I'm still not sure if this song is going to win. But since when do songs which are incredible really win? Because really, for me, if you saw my reaction analysis on this, you'll see that it didn't hit me in the same way it's hitting me now. This is totally a grower. And when everything comes together, we can see the genius behind this song. You set me afire, but you're never fully mine. Oh, you're so hot, yet cold as ice. You are a flamethrower. At the same time as him saying, you set me on fire or alight or whatever, she is now taking her own independent melody and ascending to this eventual you are. It is a question mark chord that she is arpeggiating on the violin, and then it resolves after the Lia Kin Hai Tin goes back to chord 1. But when it goes back to chord 1, this resolution is where we start and we hear this violin melody, which is solely hers. When we resolve into that feeling of home, she takes it. You are a flamethrower, and she unleashes. She unleashes in this extremely assertive, almost aggressive melody. Let's hear it. So she's unleashing from this, and she's about to absolutely unleash full force. Here we go. We can see how this has built. It's not even just about there's this relationship which is shown between them. It is so in depth from how the violin is being used, where it's being used, when it's being used, even down to the camera work to hint at whether she's there or not, and the fragility even of his psyche. The second verse, this is the melody behind the verse, very much, especially beginning using only 2 notes. We noted in the last verse that she wasn't there but was there. It made us feel a sense that she wasn't playing until a certain time, that she was absent. But we found out that she really wasn't through both creative camera work and through the use of pizzicato in the string accompaniment and some longer arco melodies going into where she was revealed to have actually been the one playing that. So now we've got this verse 2 where he is again descending more and more into obsession and madness. He's still obsessing about the fact that he can't reach her after a couple of nights. Can a person die of lust? Now, this is important because I believe other translations put this as hate. So we'll talk about that in a moment. And native Finnish speakers, if you can please weigh into this, because this is so much more helpful hearing it from you than looking at some translations. Every time we're skin to skin, so he's again remembering, you give me 3rd degree burns. Here is an English phrase that he's using once. Oh dear Lord, I have one more absolution, for I've sinned yet again. So he's both coming to his realizations that he cannot be even redeemed here. But this is a really important verse because we start off once again thinking that she is not there. So before we go into the die of hate, die of lust bit, there is that very, very small pizzicato, but it's not as prevalent as before. So maybe she's not here at this point. For a couple of nights, I can't reach you. But let's hear what happens when he uses this word lust. So we've got Eurovision World calling it hate. The word here is kiman. So again, Finnish speakers, please weigh in. Please weigh in on this. Can a person die of hate? Literally referring to animals being in heat. But here it implies intense sexual desire. That's why I'm thinking that lust might be a bit of a tamer word for this. The very lyric which Linda chooses to come back on, doubling the melody. You guessed it. Can a person literally die of hate? Now, I do believe it's a kind of a double entendre here. He's saying that he's being flamed in the sense that his emotions are kind of all over the place, and that might be it there. But I do believe there is that lust, there is that sexual desire behind what he is saying, and the word hate there is also reducing him. The use of the word if, and again, Finnish speakers let me know, if this is in fact the same word that is used to describe animals being in heat, not having control, we are now reducing him and dehumanizing him. The reality is he is now dehumanized himself to a point where he cannot even have any control. So where does Linda come in on? We heard it. Ready? It's no accident. It's no accident that she is facilitating this. And then she goes on to her own counter melody whilst he is once again, we're going to use the Eurovision World one, where he is once again talking about his memories, about how he feels with her, and she is now in her own counter melody because she is playing him. Remember, he is the violin in this respect. She's playing him like a fiddle here. We can hear the melody moving now in a different direction. She's come in on this word of kima. So she's come in on the word kima, doubling the melody, and then moving into her own counter melody. And we're going to keep it playing because here we have an interlude which we didn't have between the first verse and the first chorus. An interlude which hints back at the chord progression from the very beginning before we even heard him sing. This is her taking him on a wild ride. This is her going, I will do what I want. I will lure you in if I want, ending on a kind of a dominant seventh chord here, which should lead us back into the tonic. So you hear the violin playing, doing whatever she wants to do, really goes up high, holds this high note, which is kind of like I'm playing you, and leads us back in. Let's listen to where she comes in on the word heat and does her own thing. Here we go. So this melody is familiar because it's the same chords that we used at the beginning. Go up an octave. Beautiful. Smashing this. And look at the power. Like the way they're framing her is as a manipulator, right? They're on opposite sides there. She is playing him so badly right now. So we see this. There is no accident here. There is no, okay, the violin sounds good coming in this place and the violin is okay and not. It is fully connected. As someone, yes, music is my thing. So I'm not as good at analyzing lyrics or visuals, but you can see how they connect. This is why it's a work of art. For those of you who have seen my reaction analysis on this, on my first listening, I picked up something at the end, which everybody confirmed for me. Without knowing the meaning of the song myself at the time, I picked up something at the end, which everyone confirmed for me in the comments going, yes, this is the meaning of the song. So how this one thing at the end can communicate the meaning of the song to a non-Finnish speaker, to the point where Linda herself went onto my video and commented this, which I went pin, because what? Linda Lampenius is here. Let's take a listen to how this develops after we hear that full-blown violin melody. What an epic ending. What an epic ending. For those of you who saw my reaction analysis to this from a first time listening, not knowing what this song meant, my view of that was actually, you know what? Roll the tape. Coda here is exceptional because we have this tremolo, the alternating of one note and it sliding up the neck of the violin. It's just basically a very slow glissando or slide in pitch up. But we have, what's the guy's name? I already forgotten it. Pete. It's such a normal name that I forgot it. But we've got Pete holding this note in his falsetto, also ascending. But that note that he's ascending is not only is it not the same note as what's being played on the violin tremolo, which is ascending very slowly and hence sliding up. So he's singing and holding this note in this falsetto and sliding up. But that note, it's dissonant to that violin note, which is so creative and so tense. This is why this is so tense, because we have this relationship between the main vocalist here, Pete, and Linda, who's on the violin, sliding up, ascending gradually with this tremolo kind of creating a lot of tension. Alongside him in the high falsetto, sliding as well. But the note itself very heavily conflicts. Might even be a minor second, but let's see. So what we're finding is we've got him there kneeling over, which is so creative. But she's the leader and he's trying to catch her. And this is so creatively done because he's there on the ground, right? Kind of reaching up to her. He's trying to reach up to her visually, but she's higher. And she is always maintaining a higher pitch, and I think by a semitone. That's insane. Holding that pitch, or whatever it was that he was holding, and then ascending, and as she's ascending, but she's always that little bit higher, and he never catches her. I think what's happening here is that it's showing that she's always this step in front, whatever, I don't know what the song's about, but he is metaphorically trying to keep up with her, but he can't. That's shown in the music, in the melody, with this dissonance where he can't reach her, and he's always about a tone or a semitone below, creating immense dissonance. That was from my first time listening to it. So if this can make me understand that without knowing the lyrics, without knowing Finnish, this has done its job. Whether it will win or not, I don't know. I don't believe it will win the jury and audience vote. However, we know that means that it still could win. Think Duncan Lawrence 2019. So I hope you learned something new here, whilst I kind of went down the nerdy rabbit hole in the last few days and weeks of listening to this song and intensely studying the meaning behind it and going, violin here, violin's here, she's behind that, I know it's a bit crazy, but let me know what you think. Is this an accident or is it not? Is everything meticulously done on purpose? I'm going to say yes, but am I looking into it too much? Thank you so much for watching. It's been a pleasure. Until next time.